That said, guys, I want to ask you guys another very important question here. And this came up recently. Carlos and I talked about this, and he kind of brought up the idea. And I've gotten some mixed feedback on this. Some people are interested, some are not. But I want to ask you guys the question, and I want the chat to weigh in on this too. And I'll put a poll up for you guys because I think Javier was saying he wanted a poll, or someone wanted a poll. So I'm going to put a poll
Javier.
Yeah. So would you guys be interested in a premium line from Hot Toys? Maybe something akin to what InArt is offering for Hot Toys, for Star Wars, for Marvel. Maybe they can somehow find a way to do rooted hair that's not Barbie-like. They can do something like that, right? They could do real leather parts. They could just say, okay, we're going to get our best artists on these. These are going to be a little more care and detail and effort into these, but we're only going to do maybe the top tier characters. We'll do like Obi-Wan and Anakin and Iron Man and Mando and stuff like that. That's not going to be for every character. And maybe it's Darth Vader, right? Maybe you would pay 500 or 550, 600 for a Darth Vader instead of 350. That's the question I want to ask you guys. So I want to start actually with Justin because I don't know what you're going to say. And I'm really interested to hear this. And I know with Carlos Leo, I'm a little unsure also. But Justin, what do you think? Would you be interested in sort of a premium line from Hot Toys? I bring up this Vader because imagine it with real leather, how that could go. What do you think?
No. I'm not to say that they couldn't do it. I think they could. They've got some really talented artists. We know they do. And they've used real leather before. And they've done stuff like, their DX line with moving eyes and swappable head sculpt. So we've seen what a premium line is, basically their DX line. But I don't think that there's space for them to go that next step because a couple of reasons. Number one, their stuff already takes the longest out of any company to release, like 2 to 3 years. So imagine if they were then like, nah, we've got to get a little guy to come and pop the little hairs in. It's going to take even longer. Like InArt, from announcement to release of that Joker, and they're making statues as well at the same time, and life-size busts and life-size Hulk busters. So it's not like they're just sitting around doing nothing so they could work on Joker. I don't think that Hot Toys could afford to make us wait even longer for that extra little flourish. But also, I think people are already saying that they're priced out. When it comes to the DX line, it's getting more expensive. Die-cast Iron Man getting more expensive. So I don't think that there's room for Hot Toys to go that step above. If they did, it would have to be under a new name, like Queen Studios and InArt, Hot Toys and
Hotter Toys.
Even hotter toys.
Yeah. Hottest toys.
White hot toys. That next level of heat. Raising the heat.
Don't do that.
So I don't think that they could under Hot Toys. DX is already like their premium. They've got quarter scale. That's the next step up again. I don't think that, for me personally, I wouldn't be interested in that. Let J&D and InArt and maybe Infinity, let them fight that out. Let them have the premium level in terms of that price point and the quality, because they're smaller, they can pivot, they're more agile, they can do stuff like the individual hand-punched hair. Hot Toys, they're massive, they're a giant. Let them handle the big licenses like Star Wars, and we need volume there. Like, nobody's going to be happy. Say Hot Toys did their premium line and it was a much higher price point, but they did like one a year. People are like, what the hell? What am I going to do with just my Obi-Wan? He's going to be sitting there for a year? Hell no. We need a line. We need a full line. So I'm just going to go with no. And I hope I've explained myself well as to why.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I want to let Carlos jump in here and see kind of his thoughts on this one, because I'm wondering, and Carlos, if this is going to be maybe a necessity. I'm not sure, but I guess the only time will tell. What do you think?
So I think there would be a lot of pushback, but I think everyone would want it eventually. I think for certain characters, not all characters, and I feel like Hot Toys is getting a little bit faster at releases. It's taking about a year now. I think smaller batches, I think we'll start seeing like less and less figures being made now that the budget's going to be spread out thinner. But I think there should be, you can still release a Darth Vader like this, and then you can release that DX version, because their DX is not even DX anymore at this point. They give the rolling eyes and all the different things to other figures. So I think there's room for it. We've seen the Aragorn and the Joker from InArt, the sculpted version, and then you add the rooted hair when done right, and it just gives it another level of realism, and it looks that much better, in my opinion. So I think there's room for it. I think like if you get a Darth Vader that, it's going to be real leather, so you don't have to worry about the peeling, that's going to be 3, 4, 5 years from now, or, like the Winter Soldier, if they were to remake it, but now that jacket is made out of real leather and that's going to cost an extra 100, 150. I think people will line up for it for certain figures. Like if they made a Mantis with like rooted hair, I don't think that's going to do well. But if they do, Darkseid Anakin with rooted hair and real leather and a rechargeable, saber, whatever, like, not, a saber you can put in a cable in so you can see it, but I think those would do really, really well. I think if Hot Toys was to make that line, so yeah, I think they should, and I think there is room for them. And I think out of necessity they will, because they're the only ones that can do a Marvel and Star Wars right now. So I think they should, and I think people will line up for, like I said, for these figures. We'll say no, but when it comes time to it, they'll get like this Anakin. They'll do it. So yeah, I think there's room for it, and I think people will get it too. So
yeah, because it already looked. I mean, hey, and I know like people are saying like it's hard to pay for maybe some in art and pay for some J&D, and then also pay for Hot Toys. So they feel like there's a place for each of them, and I do agree. But I guess Hot Toys is not quite used to this position. They're not used to this where they're not the best. So. And we still don't know that, right? Because we don't have all the in art figures in hand. I know Justin has his, and we'll wait and see how the other ones turn out. But I guess we'll find out. Leao, what do you think, bro? Would you be interested in a premium Wonder Woman, for example?
I mean, I definitely would, but I don't think. Here's the thing, bro. I don't think Hot Toys, they have way too many IPs to be a premium distributing company, bro. Like literally, they do. I mean, you have Disney, everything under the Disney, arc. Warner Brothers, some Warner Brother properties. You have a lot of these one-offs. You got the VGM video game section as well. Like you have all of that, and when within Disney Plus alone, all those shows. You know what I mean? There's a lot. I mean, hell, tomorrow night we're supposed to get a trailer for season 3 of Mando during the Dallas game. So if you basically tomorrow night.
I'm excited. Thank you, Leia.
Yeah, tomorrow night. So that's what I'm saying. Like when you think about all of that, and then you're asking for premium. Yes, there's a few pieces that, I mean, again, they've gotten out. Now, let's be honest. Like a lot of those pieces that they actually got out, and that weren't as delayed, it's because there's a push by Sideshow to get those pieces. We know that within the last year they've been doing that. They've been holding on to pieces based on Sideshow's demand. So again, we know that already. But dealing with all that and then asking for premium, if they made that announcement, you probably won't see those figures for 6 years, to be quite honest, because that's just the way it feels. So I mean, it does, bro. Like it just kind of feels that way because they have way too many pieces out there right now, and then we got to deal with the delay aspect of it. There's always delays. They're always saying, this is being pushed. They got to put out the disclaimer. We would definitely want to see some premium pieces from them, and a lot of people would want that. I know you would, but it's just, do they have the time, space, and the manpower to do it? And it just like sometimes it doesn't seem like they do. You know what I mean? Whereas in art right now, again, they're only playing within that Warner Brother field, and even with that, it's selective, based on the licenses. So you know what I mean? Again, they have time to put, money and effort into putting these things out a bit earlier. Hot Toys, nah, bro. Like we can talk about it and say, but I'm like, that probably won't happen for a minute. We would want it. And what we want to basically see is to improve on what they already have. Plain and simple. Improve on it. Like you have these properties, you see what NR's doing. Even if you can't give us premium, just improve on what you have. Be concerned about, because we've seen way too many inconsistencies. You know what I mean? So if you can improve on, if they're not improving on that, but then we're asking for premiums, it's like, okay, you're not going to get that, premium tier that you're looking for if they can't even improve on what they currently release. So that's all I'm saying. Like I just, for me, I don't think so.
I think Hot Toys will start improving even on their standard releases, or their releases now, because I believe that more and more over the next couple of years, we're gonna see, and I know this is another topic, but we will see less and less side characters. I think we're gonna start seeing a lot less of that over the next coming years than they're gonna start making every character just to make it, So,
Yeah.
but I do agree to some points for sure.
Well, it could be a matter of like we've talked about, Carlos, where if people are buying in art, or like Justin mentioned, they are buying J&D or any other company that's coming in. Most collectors only have a finite budget. So if you have that and you're spending now 500 on the Aragorn or whatever, like now I might not have that money to buy Mantis or Nebula or the other sort of side characters that I wanted, right? Well, I'm definitely still getting Mando, right? I'll make room for Mando and I'll make room for Obi-Wan and Anakin and that. But Vader, but maybe I'm not making room that I might have had previously for characters like Mantis, right? That's kind of could be sort of maybe the domino effect that we see. Justin, do you think could be any credibility to that?
Look, I think there's one thing that we are forgetting.
Yeah.
Because we exist in this echo chamber of hot toys. Hot toys just like we have them, we buy them, it's just a thing. But for most collectors outside of our echo chamber, hot toys is already the premium.
Right.
They're already that next step up. Like people who collect Figure Arts, Marvel Legends, Black Series, etc. Hot Toys is already that top tier. So I don't know that. I don't know that with all that competition, there's room for them. They could, but I think it definitely needs to be another brand. It needs to be a sub brand, an offshoot, separate it, draw that line, completely different, but still affiliated. Yeah, it's like if they were to make 1/12 scale figures, they couldn't do it, I don't think, under Hot Toys. It would have to be something else.
Right.
It's like Audi, it's like a premium brand, and then they own Lamborghini, which is like their ultra luxury brand.
Correct. And then they own Bentley too, which is that like next step up. So there's like different levels, but they've clearly separated. They could do it. They could do it. But like you all have said, they need to get their main line, let's just call this their main line products 100%, no question. Then we can talk about premium because they're still sculpting out of clay, I think. So like we discussed in a previous stream, it's really hard for them to now go and tweak that head sculpt without just starting again. Because if they're doing it out of clay, you can't just, if it's digitally, you can move the ears up, you can move the eyes, you can do whatever. But clay is like, once it's sculpted, that's kind of it. You can't just add more clay to it.
And with that basically being said, that's where we're seeing flaws. Like the thing is, they need to take notes. And what I could say about companies like InArt, there's a level of transparency there. You know what I mean? They need to really take notes. They need to listen because again, one of the biggest mistakes, literally one of the biggest disappointing, I was waiting for this figure the whole damn year and to get that Batman Begins in. Once I got that Batman Begins, bro, I was so disappointed. And and the thing is, we had this discussion the other day, like, why should we have to pay more to improve a figure? Like if the thing is from them, if you're giving us something, there should be improvement already. There should be that level of consistency. There should be all the attributes that we see from that figure, and you've had time enough to do it since you've released it originally. So why should I have to pay $300 or $400 more to improve a figure? Buying a cape, buying a head sculpt, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, like the body was just, I don't know. It was just weird. It's weird. But I'm going to use it because I had that tumbler. So I have to put it to use. You know what I mean? So I have to use it, but I would have to pay more money just to improve that piece. So I think that what people want is, yes, we see companies like InArt and they are giving us quality. Like they definitely have my attention. When it comes to it, because they haven't, from what I see so far, they've done a great job. But I think that what people are asking for right now, instead of saying, what, we want that premium, they're just saying, look, Hot Toys, can you just get what you're doing right? Can you just give us, give us what you've promised originally in your mission statement? You know what I mean?
I just think that. And I agree with you, Leo, 100% that they should. I think the problem, and I think what we're all going to dislike that's going to come from this is that Hot Toys, they keep releasing a ton of figures, and then they keep giving us, for the most part, lately, unless it's like a reissue, a subpar release. Batman and a few others have came out that have been pretty subpar. So if they keep doing the same thing over and over, we're expecting different results, then like that's just unlikely, right? It's just not going to happen. I think they will improve on it, but like I said, I think we're going to see less and less lower tier popularity characters so that they could focus more on these other characters. And I think that's what we're going to see because, Batman is, should have been improved, should have been better. That Doc Ock the fact that the hair still had, slots for the or slits for the for the glasses, it's kind of ridiculous. Or their, plutonium case was made out of cardboard. Just little things like that I think they are definitely strapped. And so I think the only way to beat that is by making less.
But
Right,
see,
I would
and this
assume
is
Is that
what I'm
possible,
saying
though?
is like, if you want, like right now, it's a confidence builder. It's like gaining that confidence, gaining the consumer's confidence. And I think not Sideshow, but InArt right now is doing a good job of that. They're kind of gaining confidence because they're showing product and they're showing that, okay, we can give you a prototype, but once it comes down to production, we can give you the same thing, if not better. You know what I mean? They're showing you that they can do that. So if we're looking at Hot Toys and we're not getting that level of consistency, right?
Yeah.
How can we have that confidence in a premium product that they release? If they're giving, if we see what they're giving us with their, current line, and there's no improvement and there's no consistency, how can we depend on them to say, okay, yes, we want the premium line. Yes, we would dive all the way in on that. You got to show me something first. Show me that you can get this right first, because they've done it. We know that they can do it. But if they're not showing us that, then diving into a premium line, it's just like you're not going to have that level of confidence in it, bro.
Yeah. So Hot Toys doesn't know anything that's proprietary, right? So they have to make improvements. It's not like they have a patent on, 1/6 scale bodies or any of that. The license, it's owned by Sideshow. This is not like, for the longest time, Hot Toys was like Madden, right? Or EA Sports Madden, where like the games suck every year because they corner the market. Or Apple, Android has a better phone, but they have a better operating system than they own. Hot Toys doesn't own anything. Sideshow owns it, right? So that's how I see it. Yes, the Android is a better feature phone. That's what I mean. Justin, I see you there.
I like the folding. I want a folding.
Well, what I'm saying is like they had like wireless charging way before, iPhone had, and USB-C. Like, anyways, point is they had better, faster features. So what I'm trying to say with this is that I believe that Hot Toys will eventually want to do a premium line, but I think they're going to decrease their figures that they're going to announce and increase certain premium figure lines so that they can make up that bottom line. I think that's how they're going to probably try to do it, because before now even Jazz Inc., before J&D, and who knows who other comes into the picture, the reality is that, Hot Toys was essentially like a Madden. They could just make minor improvements and we had no choice but to buy it. But now people are starting to realize, like, well, we don't really need to go spend money on 10 troopers when I can go buy an Aragorn that I really like, or maybe the Batman that I really like, or the Joker, right? Instead of buying 3 troopers or 4 troopers, I can go buy that. If you love troopers, that's fine. But what I'm trying to say, it gives you options.
That is tricky though. That's tricky though, because here's the thing, bro. InArt only has Warner Brothers right now, bro.
Yeah.
For now.
And as long as as long as Hot Toys basically has Star Wars and Marvel, which is bread and butter for a lot of people, and there's a lot of and the thing is, you have these shows, you have so many different things out there.
100%.
They have so that again, people are going to take the bitter with the sweet when it comes to that, because they're like, it may not, but it is something from that line. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way. And right now, here's the thing. Like, I talked about this before. Yes, we're looking at InArt and we're saying, they are giving us top tier. It looks great.
Right.
But in Hot Toys' defense, InArt doesn't have to deal with everything as far as all these different IPs, these different licenses. So once they start picking up more licenses and they get busier and busier, you might see a little slight decline. Right now, it's in a good space.
Sure.
But you might see that slight decline. Hot Toys has been doing this for how many years now? And they've been improving over the years. The years, so we know what they can do, right? So when you say, like, all right, this is a reissue, but the reissue is the same damn figure you gave us the first time, right? But we know you can do better.
Well, that's my point, right? Like they own the Marvel and Star Wars, or they have the Marvel and Star Wars license, but if they don't own it, Sideshow does. So it's not like you can just be like, well, I don't have to make big improvements. No, you do, because you may have the license now. It doesn't mean you'll have it 3-4 years from now when NR or whoever wants to come into the picture, like J&D. Trust me, they're going to try to aim and go after that license too. And that doesn't mean they might get it. But point being is that over time, Hot Toys is going to have to make improvements whether they like it or not. I know Mafia said, like, this is exactly where they want to be. No, they don't. because they don't own anything. There's nothing proprietary that Hot Toys does. Literally, custom people do better. In art would do better, right? So there's
But you know
nothing
what?
proprietary. That they
It
have.
seems to
Nothing at
me
all.
like though, and that, you know what, to be quiet, we can talk about this all day, but it seems to me that Disney, they like quantity over quality.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
it.
want to let Justin hop in. So, Justin, what do you think? Is this maybe a Disney thing? Is Hot Toys still in a good spot where they want to reach the collector masses, so to speak? What do you think?
Look, I'm not sure what the licensing looks like when it comes to Disney, Marvel, Star Wars with Sideshow in the mix. But all I know is for a Hong Kong-based company, it's very difficult to get a global license for Marvel, Star Wars, etc. And that's why they partnered up with Sideshow in the beginning, is because Sideshow had the license for North America and wherever the hell else they distribute for Star Wars. I'm fairly certain that still is the case. So if there was ever a time where Hot Toys did want to distribute their own product, they wouldn't have global. It would basically be an in-art situation all over again. So in-art does not have the global license for DC. Again, I'm pretty sure that's either Hot Toys or Sideshow that own outside of the Asian territories. So I don't know what that would look like if they ever were to want to do their own thing, if that makes sense. But
Right.
as far as where they want to be, or this is exactly where they are, not being a premium, or that we need to take our collector hat off for a second, they are absolutely premium. You tell anyone who does not collect figures that you spent $200 on that 1/6 scale little man, and we're like, what? What did you?
Yeah,
how
I've been
much?
there. I've been there.
Exactly.
And you have a whole room of them? That's insane. So they're absolutely premium. Even in Hong Kong, it's not like how we have been, accustomed to collecting, where we've got to get everything. It's like, oh yeah, 100% going to get that, add to the line, add to the collection, module case, whatever. It's even in Hong Kong, you've got to be selective. I'm going to get 2 or 3 a year. People don't necessarily collect like we do. Like we always got to put ourselves just back in the situation of where normal.
Go tell someone you're spent $1,000 on the Joker, and then let me know what.
Exactly.
They're gonna look at you and be like,
"What?
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you?" That's what they're gonna
Exactly.
say.
Like, what is wrong with you, man?
Yeah,
Come
right.
on. And then the statues obviously is an entirely different thing.
Totally different
So-
ballgame. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Totally
told my
different.
parents what I spent on the Joker for the J&D, and they're like, "What the fuck did you do?"
Like, sorry?
Well, because
Oh,
anytime,
yeah.
because like if I ever show my mom something from collecting, I'll be like, "Yeah, what do you think of this?" She's like, "That looks amazing," and then she'll be like, "How much did it cost?" And I'll be like $1,000. She'll be like, "Don't tell me anymore." She'll be like, "Don't tell."
Just-
That's exactly what she says
Just
every
no.
time. Yep. So and like even the Pennywise statue, Justin, half scale. She
Oh,
was like, she was like, "How much is that?" I was like 2,000. She was like, "I don't want to know anymore. I shouldn't ask."
Bro,
Oh, my
that's-
God.
Andrew, the guy some guy came fix my my filter and my fan anyway. So he saw the Iron Man, my half scale. I was like, yeah, that's like, it's like one of my prized possessions is my half scale Mark 7. He's like, that's nice. It's like, how much was that? $300, $400? I was like,
300, 400.
Oh,
I was
my
like,
God.
it was like 3,000 or so shipped. He just like, he kind of
Like,
just like
what?
stops. He's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, okay, I'm
They
gonna
almost
charge you
don't
more
believe
now.
you. They think you're like
Yeah.
insane. Like, and then when you get to like a J&D thing, like, how much is that? And you're like, oh yeah, but it's like silicon, it's like glass eyes. They're like, oh, get off it. Like, what?
Yeah, right. They're like,
wrong with
okay,
this guy?
Elon.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's not-
basically with
yeah.
all your money.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, let's move on from that topic.